They found the bones of the man who condemned Jesus to death. They were inside a limestone box with his name engraved on it, in Jerusalem, less than 2 kilometers from the place where he condemned him. And that's just one of 7 discoveries that have no explanation, because over the last 150 years, archaeologists have unearthed things that had been underground for thousands of years, stones with biblical names carved into them, pools exactly where a gospel writer said they were, a tunnel that shouldn't exist with the technology of 3,000 years ago, and a scroll that proves the biblical text was copied for 1,000 years without practically changing anything. But the strangest thing is how they appeared. A boy slipped inside a tunnel and discovered an inscription from King Hezekiah. A Bedouin shepherd threw a rock looking for a lost goat and found the most important manuscripts of the 20th century. A plumber repairing a broken pipe stumbled upon the pool where Jesus healed a blind man. And an excavator broke through the roof of a tomb, and there were the bones of Caiaphas. No one was looking for them, and they all appeared. But there's one discovery among these 7 that is different from the rest, one that the archaeologists themselves never expected to find. And when they found it, the academics who said the Bible was a book of myths were left without arguments. We'll get to it, but I need you to come with me from the beginning. 1 July 1993, Tel Dan, northern Israel. It's so hot the sun burns your skin through your shirt. A team of Israeli archaeologists has been excavating the remains of an ancient gate for weeks. Stones, dust, broken pottery, nothing out of the ordinary. Until an archaeologist named Gila Cook picks up a fragment of black basalt. A piece of stone about 30 centimeters long. It's covered in dirt, but when she cleans it, she sees letters. Ancient Aramaic, carved with precision into the rock nearly 3,000 years ago. The director of the excavation, Avraham Biran, has been digging at Tel Dan for decades. When he sees the stone, he knows he has something important, but he doesn't yet know how important. They spend weeks cleaning, photographing, analyzing each letter, and then they reach line 9 of the fragment. 2 words in ancient Aramaic, Beit Dwd, Bet David, House of David. Until that moment in 1993, there was not a single mention of King David outside the Bible. Not one. Academics from the minimalist school had been saying for years that David was a literary character, a national myth invented centuries later to give legitimacy to a monarchy that never existed. Some compared him to King Arthur, a nice legend, but fiction. And suddenly, a piece of basalt stone appears with his name engraved by an enemy king. The inscription was probably written by Hazael, king of Aram Damascus, around the year 841 BC, and it mentions the king of Israel and the king of the house of David as enemies defeated in battle. This matches exactly what we read in 2 Kings 8:28-29, where Joram of Israel and Ahaziah of Judah fight against Hazael at Ramoth Gilead. A pagan king, an enemy of Israel, carved the name of David in stone, not to honor him, to boast that he had defeated him. And without knowing it, he gave the world the first proof outside the Bible that David was a real king. When the news was published, it was an academic earthquake. There were scholars who tried to argue that Beit Dwd didn't mean House of David, but was a place name, or that the word Dwd meant uncle or beloved. But the overwhelming majority of academics accepted the reading. The stone is now in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, where anyone can see it with their own eyes, and there's something more that makes it even more powerful. That same year, a French scholar named André Lemaire recognized the same phrase, House of David, in a completely different inscription, the Pilate Stone, a Moabite monument that had been in the Louvre Museum since 1868. More than a century on display without anyone identifying those 2 words. Suddenly, David didn't appear in one inscription, he appeared in 2. And notice something almost nobody mentions. The following year, in 1994, they found two more fragments that fit with the first one, and those fragments contained parts of the names of the defeated kings. The names match the kings that appear in 2 Kings. The stone didn't just confirm David, it confirmed a specific battle that the Bible narrates in detail. But what comes next is even more powerful. Because if finding David's name on a stone seems incredible to you, wait until you hear what they found beneath a step on the Mediterranean coast. 2. Caesarea Maritima. The year 1961. An Italian team led by Antonio Frova is excavating a Roman theatre built by Herod the Great. They've been at it for 3 seasons. And that day, an archaeologist named Maria Teresa Fortuna Canivet finds a limestone block about 80 centimeters long. It had been reused as a step. People had been stepping on that stone for centuries without knowing what was written on its underside. When they flip it over, they see letters in Latin, and what they read stops their hearts. Pontius Pilatus, Praefectus Iudaeae, Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea. Until 1961, the direct archaeological evidence of Pilate was zero. Yes, the Jewish historian Josephus mentioned him. The Roman Tacitus mentioned him. Philo of Alexandria mentioned him. But there wasn't a single stone, coin, or seal with his name dating from his own era. And the skeptics used that as an argument. They said that if Pilate was really that important, he had to have left some physical trace. But there was none. It was under a step, face down. Since the 4th century, people had literally been walking on the name of the man who ordered the crucifixion of Jesus, and no one knew it. But there's a detail almost nobody knows that makes this discovery even more powerful. The inscription calls Pilate Praefectus, prefect, not procurator. For centuries, historians used the title procurator because that's what Tacitus called him in his annals. But Tacitus wrote 80 years after Pilate. The Caesarea stone is contemporary. It dates from the years 26 to 36 AD, and it says prefect. The stone didn't just confirm that Pilate existed, it corrected his title for historians. A buried rock had more precise information than the history books. The Gospels mention Pilate in Matthew 27, Mark 15, Luke 23, and John 18 through 19. Acts 3:13 also names him, and now a stone with his signature was in a museum, confirming each of those references. If this video is opening your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it, because we still have 5 discoveries to go, and each one is more powerful than the last. 3. Now I need you to come with me to Jerusalem. December 1990, south of the city. Workers are building a recreational park in a place called the Peace Forest, near the Talpiot neighborhood. An excavator breaks through the roof of something that was underground. The foreman peers into the hole and sees stone boxes inside a cave. They call the Israel Antiquities Authority. Archaeologist Zvi Greenhut arrives and begins to excavate. He finds 12 ossuaries, 6 intact, 6 disturbed by ancient robbers. But there's one that stands out above all the rest. It's the most decorated, carved with elaborate floral motifs. Someone put a lot of effort and money into that box, and on one side it has an inscription in Aramaic, Yehoseph bar Caiaphas, Joseph, son of Caiaphas. Inside were the bones of a man about 60 years old. Also those of an adult woman, 2 infants and 2 adolescents, an entire family. Think about that for a moment. The high priest who organized the nighttime trial against Jesus. The man who said, "It is expedient that one man should die for the people," in John 11:50. The one who tore his robes and shouted, "He has spoken blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses?" in Matthew 26:65. The one who handed Jesus over to Pilate to be crucified. The bones of that man were in that limestone box, with his name engraved on it. The historian Josephus calls him Joseph, who was called Caiaphas in Antiquities 18. 35. The same name, the same period, the same city. It's not an indirect reference. It's not a mention in a later text. These are the physical remains of a New Testament figure. And the box they were in is one of the most ornate ever found in Jerusalem, which fits perfectly with the status of a high priest. Dominic Crossan and Jonathan Reed, two scholars who are hardly conservative in their theological positions, wrote, "There should be no doubt that the chamber was the resting place of the family of the high priest Caiaphas mentioned in the Gospels, and it is very probable that the bones of the older man were those of Caiaphas himself." Think about it again. The skeptics asked for evidence, and the earth gave them back the bones. And what comes now connects directly with one of Jesus's most well-known miracles. Because 13 years after finding the bones of Caiaphas, a plumber in Jerusalem was about to discover something that would confirm an event from the Gospel of John with a precision no one expected. 4. Summer 2004. City of David, Jerusalem. Municipal workers are repairing a sewer pipe that had broken. It's routine work. Picks, shovels, nothing special. But as they dig, they hit something hard underneath the ground. Steps, made of stone, enormous, ancient. Archaeologists Eli Shukron and Ronnie Reich arrive at the site, and what they discover beneath centuries of debris and mud is a monumental pool, nearly 70 meters long, with steps descending on 3 of its sides. Coins from the period of Pontius Pilate embedded in the stone pavement. 1st century pottery. It's the Pool of Siloam. Not the small Byzantine pool that pilgrims had been visiting since the 5th century, thinking it was the right place. No. That pool was a location error that lasted 1,500 years. This is the original. The one from the Second Temple period. The one that existed when Jesus walked the streets of Jerusalem. John 9:6-7 says that Jesus spat on the ground, made clay with the saliva, anointed the eyes of a man born blind, and told him, "Go, wash in the Pool of Siloam." And the text clarifies in parentheses that Siloam means sent. The man went, washed, and came back seeing. For decades, skeptics questioned whether that pool really existed in the location John describes. Some said John invented the detail to give theological symbolism to the story. That sent was a metaphor, not a real location. And a broken sewer pipe uncovered it, exactly in the right location. The size you'd expect for a ceremonial pool where thousands of Jewish pilgrims purified themselves before ascending to the temple, with the correct dating confirmed by coins. John wasn't writing metaphors, he was describing a real place that he knew. And the excavations haven't finished. In 2022, after nearly 2 decades of legal negotiations, the Israel Antiquities Authority began excavating the remaining portion of the pool. And what they're finding suggests the pool was even larger than initially thought. Every meter they dig confirms a little more of what John wrote 2,000 years ago. But now I need to take you much further back in time, because what comes next connects with an engineering feat that modern scientists still can't fully explain. And it started with a 16-year-old boy who fell into the water. 5. The year 1880. Jerusalem under Ottoman rule. A 16-year-old student named Jacob Eliyahu decides to explore an underground tunnel that connects the Gihon Spring with the lower part of the city. The tunnel is dark. The water reaches his waist. The walls are living rock. And at some point he slips on some stones, falls into the water, and when he stands up, he sees something on the wall. Marks, letters, carved directly into the rock. Jacob is a student of Konrad Schick, a German researcher living in Jerusalem. When he tells his teacher what he saw, Schick goes down into the tunnel, and he discovers the Siloam inscription. 6 lines in ancient Hebrew describing the exact moment 2 teams of excavators digging from opposite ends of the tunnel met in the middle. The inscription says that when 3 cubits remained before the meeting, they could hear the voice of a man calling to his companion because there was a crack in the rock. And on the day of the meeting, the excavators struck each one toward his companion, pick against pick, and the waters flowed from the spring to the pool, a distance of 1,200 cubits. 1,200 cubits is 533 meters, more than half a kilometer of solid rock, excavated by hand, without modern measuring instruments, without laser technology, without GPS, and the 2 teams met in the middle. Scientists believe they used acoustic-sounding techniques, striking the rock and listening for the vibrations from the other side. But even so, the precision of the work is astonishing. 2 Kings 20:20 says exactly this. The rest of the acts of Hezekiah, all his might, and how he made a pool and a tunnel and brought water into the city, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? And 2 Chronicles 32:30 adds, this same Hezekiah also stopped the water outlet of Upper Gihon, and brought the water by tunnel to the west side of the city of David. Radiocarbon dating confirmed that the tunnel was built around the year 710 BC, the same period when Hezekiah was preparing to resist the siege of the Assyrian king Sennacherib. Everything fits. The biblical text, the inscription, the dating, the engineering. And in 2022, archaeologists Eli Shukron and Gershon Galil announced they had detected additional inscriptions inside the tunnel that had gone unnoticed for more than a century. One of them directly mentions Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah. Tourists had been walking through that tunnel for decades, passing right by royal messages from the king the Bible mentions, without knowing they were there. Hit like and subscribe if you want to keep discovering things like these, because what comes next connects with one of the most impactful prophecies of the Old Testament. And it has to do with a clay cylinder that was buried for 2,500 years. 6. The year 1879. Ruins of Babylon. An Iraqi Christian explorer named Hormuzd Rassam is excavating on behalf of the British Museum. Among the rubble of what was the most powerful city in the ancient world, he finds a small cylinder of fired clay, about 22 centimeters long, 45 lines of cuneiform script in Babylonian Akkadian. It's the Cyrus Cylinder, and what it says shook the academic world. Cyrus the Great, the Persian conqueror who overthrew the Babylonian Empire in the year 539 BC, recorded on that cylinder his policy to restore the temples the Babylonians had destroyed and to allow the deported peoples to return to their lands. The cylinder says he returned the images of the gods to their sacred cities and let the inhabitants go back to their homes. Now, here I need to be completely honest with you, because this is important. The cylinder doesn't specifically mention the Jews or Jerusalem or Judea. It focuses on the sanctuaries of Babylon, and there are scholars who have rightly pointed out that the cylinder cannot be used as direct and exclusive proof of the decree that appears in the book of Ezra. But notice what it does prove. It proves that Cyrus's policy was exactly as the Bible describes it. Ezra 1:2-3 says that Cyrus proclaimed, "The Lord God of heaven has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has commanded me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is among you of all his people? May his God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem." The cylinder doesn't say those words, but it confirms that this type of decree was exactly what Cyrus did as imperial policy. He liberated peoples. He restored temples. He returned what the Babylonians had confiscated. The Bible didn't invent a fictional policy. The policy existed, and the cylinder proves it. In 2010, the British Museum discovered additional fragments of a tablet with the same text as the cylinder, suggesting the proclamation was distributed throughout the Persian Empire. Irving Finkel, curator of the museum, explained that it was easy to imagine that adapted versions were created for each region. The Jews were one of those regions. And there's something more. The prophet Isaiah had named Cyrus by name centuries before he was born. Isaiah 44:28, who says of Cyrus, "He is my shepherd, and he shall perform all my pleasure, saying to Jerusalem, you shall be built, and to the temple, your foundation shall be laid." A Hebrew prophet wrote the name of a Persian king before that king existed, and a clay cylinder unearthed from the ruins of Babylon confirms that this king did exactly what the prophet said he would do. And that brings me to the seventh and final discovery, the most important of all, the one that forever changed the way we understand the transmission of the biblical text. 7. The year 1947, Judean desert, Qumran caves. A young Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad Ed-Dib is looking for a goat that escaped among the rocks. He throws a stone into a dark cave to see if the animal is inside, and he hears something he didn't expect. Not the bleating of a goat, the sound of pottery breaking. He enters the cave. He finds sealed clay jars. Inside are parchment scrolls wrapped in linen. They've been there for more than 2,000 years, hidden, preserved by the dry desert climate. They are the Dead Sea Scrolls, and among all of them, there's one that is worth more than all the others combined for what we're talking about today, the Great Isaiah Scroll. Scholars call it 1Q Isaiah, 7.5 meters of parchment, 66 columns, the complete book of Isaiah, every chapter, every verse, from beginning to end. Now listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this is what makes this discovery different from all the others. Before 1947, the oldest existing manuscript of the Old Testament in Hebrew was the Aleppo Codex, dating to approximately the year 930 AD, more than 1,000 years after the original texts were written. And critics used that time gap as their strongest argument. They said that in 1,000 years of hand copying, generation after generation, the text had to have become corrupted, that what we were reading in the 20th century couldn't be the same as what was written in the 8th century BC. And it was a logical argument. 1,000 years. Hand copies. How could they not make mistakes? The Great Isaiah Scroll was dated to around the year 125 BCE. That is, 1,000 years older than the Aleppo Codex. And when scholars compared the two texts, word by word, verse by verse, column by column, what they found left the entire world speechless. The differences were minimal, minor spelling variations, an occasional slightly different conjunction, but the content was the same. The message was the same. The prophecies were the same. All of chapter 53 was there intact. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Isaiah 53:5. Written 1,000 years before the oldest copy we had, and it was practically identical. To understand the magnitude of this, think of a game of telephone. You tell a phrase to someone, that person tells it to another, and in 10 turns, the original phrase has already changed completely. Now imagine that same game, but for 1,000 years, with wars in between, with temples destroyed, with mass exiles to Babylon, with Greek persecution under Antiochus Epiphanes, who burned copies of the Torah and executed anyone who possessed them. And after all of that, the text arrived the same. The Jewish scribes had a copying system so meticulous that they counted every letter of every line. If a single letter was out of place, they destroyed the entire copy and started over. Correction fluid didn't exist in the ancient world. They didn't cross things out. They didn't correct. They destroyed and copied again from scratch. And the Dead Sea Scrolls proved that this system worked for at least 1,000 years with near-perfect precision. 1,000 years of hand copying, wars, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman invasions, exiles, fires, persecutions, destruction of the first temple, destruction of the second temple, and the text arrived the same. Think about what that means for the other 6 discoveries you just saw. If the text was preserved with that fidelity over 1,000 years, then the biblical references to David, to Pilate, to Caiaphas, to the Pool of Siloam, to Hezekiah's tunnel, to the decree of Cyrus are not late additions or later inventions. They are part of a text that was transmitted with a precision that defies all probability. The stones are speaking, the bones are speaking, the scrolls are speaking. And they're all saying the same thing a book has been saying for thousands of years. 7 discoveries, 150 years of excavations, a boy who fell into the water, a shepherd who lost a goat, a plumber repairing a pipe, an excavator that broke through a roof, an archaeologist who picked up a black stone from the dust, an Iraqi explorer who dug in the ruins of Babylon, and an Italian archaeologist who flipped over a step. 7 accidents, 7 coincidences. 7 times the earth gave back something that confirmed exactly what an ancient book had been saying all along. No one was looking for them. And they were all there, under the ground, waiting. There's a video on screen right now that connects directly with what you just discovered. If these 7 findings stirred something inside you, what you're about to see there is going to leave you speechless, because there are things in the Bible that had been misinterpreted for centuries and that only now are we beginning to understand. Click on it. Trust me, you won't regret it.